And when I was a kid, my family donated me to science because I was too smart. Since then, my life has been a roller coaster ride of never-ending twists and turns. Before I move on to my story, consider subscribing to the channel, because it really helps us out a lot. And hit that notification bell icon so you're always updated when a new story is uploaded. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I still remember it like it was just yesterday. I thought it was just a normal Tuesday. Little did I know that Tuesday would change my life forever. There was a science fair at school that day, and I came in with my project thinking I'd just wait for our teacher to check my booth and then I'd scram so I can go to the arcade with my friends. But before I could make my escape from the gym, I saw an odd-looking booth close to the stage. There were people I'd never seen before, and they were all in lab coats and black suits and ties. Curiosity got the better of me. I walked the opposite way of the door that could have given me freedom. That day, one of the women in lab coats talked to me about what they were doing. "You ever tested your IQ before, kid?" No. Well, you're in luck. We at Rococo Labs are touring schools in the area, giving free IQ tests. You could find out if you have the natural disposition that could lead to you being the next Nikola Tesla. Didn't he die poor and disgraced? Yeah. But that's because he was just too ahead of his time. How about Marie Curie? Died of radiation, but fine, I'll take the test. That day, I found out I had an IQ above that of even Marilyn Vos Savant, the person with the highest recorded IQ score in the world. I was over the moon. Was I going to be on TV? Were they going to write me an entry in the Guinness World Records? How much prize money does having the highest IQ win? Were they going to interview me on talk shows? I was so hyped up on the possibility of me gaining so much clout. I was trembling with excitement. It turned out none of those things came to pass. Rococo Labs were Big Pharma. And if anything else, we know Big Pharma loves keeping secrets. And I was their biggest secret yet. The only reason Rococo Labs was testing for IQ scores was to gather the world's most intelligent kids. They wanted to study us. They wanted to know if they could replicate high IQs using pharmaceuticals. And if they were to develop that and sell it to the public, they could not only save the human race from stupidity, but also make tons and tons of money. That's how they pitched it to my family anyway. And guess what? My family said yes. Of course they did. Rococo Labs promised them an irresistible amount on top of what they would pay me. Yeah, that's right. They were paying my family for borrowing me. And they were also going to pay me for my participation in the program. Sounded like a win-win to me. Until then, I'd only ever had a meager allowance, and if I was going to get a couple $1 billion just for sitting in a lab while they poked and prodded, well, sign me up. The problem was, as soon as I got to Rococo Labs' facilities, I realized I was way too naive and optimistic. It was hell. I basically signed myself up to be a human lab rat. It wasn't just poking and prodding. The scientists performed so many different traumatizing experiments on us. Some groups were kept awake for weeks. My group was forced to exert ourselves in torturous physical activities until we literally collapsed from exhaustion. And there was no way out. There was no way to say, "I tried it, but I'm out." Our contracts were ironclad, and no participant was allowed out until the studies had concluded. I heard another group had it even worse. They were what the scientists called the specimen. They underwent a bunch of operations so the scientists could see how their nervous systems worked. We never saw them again. I was, of course, the lab's most prized possession, and everyone was instructed to take the most care of me. It meant I was the teacher's pet, but it also meant I had access where others did not. And I used that to my advantage. I blackmailed the labs. I told them if I didn't get permission to go back to school, maybe my IQ would drop. A building full of scientists, and they all listened to the lies of a child. They let me out, but on the condition that I went back to the lab after school. I was going to celebrate when I got back to my classmates. I was already planning my escape. But I guess they're the adults for a reason. They actually took what I said seriously, but they took it as a chance for another new experiment. There were 2 subjects, me and the second highest IQ in the lab. I would go to school and sharpen my mind with academics. The other would stay in isolation deep down under the labs. They wanted to find out if we both come out as they predicted. One improved and the other addled. I never did get to escape. I was always surrounded by secret agents that the lab sent to my new school. Yeah, they didn't send me to my old school. It was some private school that was closer to the labs, and in fact, it was an all-boys school, and I was the lone girl. It was horrible. I was teased the whole time, and I was looked down on. There weren't even any girls' bathrooms in the school because all the teachers and students were boys. I had to go to a special bathroom on the 3rd floor that the principal declared to be the only girls' bathroom in the entire campus. One day, some boys were picking on me at the cafeteria when I met my savior. Ugh, don't go too near her, Devin. She's a girl. You might get cooties. Cooties? What are you, 5, Gillingham? I just want to get to know our new schoolmate. Hi, Kay, isn't it? I'm Fred. Everyone calls me Codsworth. Hi, Codsworth. I'm Kay. I didn't say you could call me Codsworth, impertinent fool. You have no right to call me by my last name. You're neither a boy nor a millionaire. Tell me, how is it that you've come to our school? Who's paying for your tuition? Are you paying your tuition? And why is your name Kay? Your parents too poor to afford more letters? The boys laughed so hard they almost choked. Or at least I hoped they would. That was when my hero stepped in to save me. His name was Cole. Don't you have your father's golf clubs to polish or something, Codsworth? The boys only needed to hear Cole's voice, and they scurried away like cowardly mice. Cole was a superstar. His family probably owned half of our state, and he was a famous actor, social media icon, and just all-around celebrity. He listened to my story, and by the end of it, he proposed a plan. All right, well, if they keep bullying you, there's one way I can think of that'll solve that. Why don't you become my bodyguard? Bodyguard? I can barely swat a fly dead, and you want me to be your personal SWAT team? You don't have to do anything. I always have a professional squad with me at all times. You'll just be the one person that's always with me, at all times. He said that with so much smoothness, I was beginning to suspect he was flirting. I mean, if you're always around me, those guys would never bother you again. Think of it as you pretending to protect me, so I can protect you. And then he winked. He was definitely flirting. I was by Cole's side, 24/7. I was with him to photo shoots, movie premieres, star-studded parties. They even let me share a trailer with him when he went on tour. And Rococo Labs was not happy about it. I was no longer able to fulfill my part of the deal with them, and Cole's power and influence prevented them from forcing me to go back to the labs. I told Cole all about my situation and about the horrible things that were happening at the labs, and he became very protective. It made me blush. No, you're never going back there, come hell or high water. I will protect you. I'll get my dad's best lawyers on it right this instant. Rococo Labs may have been big pharma, but Cole's family had connections in all the branches of government, and one word from them was all it took. They released me from my contract, and Cole even made sure they paid me for my time there. It was a fraction of what was on my contract, but I didn't care. I just wanted freedom. I was worried for the people who were left there, though, and of course, I didn't want such an evil corporation to keep doing human experimentation. So without telling Cole, I went back to Rococo Labs to demand that they stop all illegal experiments at once. Otherwise, I would take them to the Supreme Court. Of course, I didn't know how I would do that, or if I even could. That was Cole's area of expertise. I was merely bluffing. But it amazed me how just the slightest connection could make people do what you want. That money and power could convince people to take you seriously. I was simply Cole's bodyguard. I wasn't his cousin or anything, and yet they took my threats seriously. They even bribed me with the full amount on my contract to keep my silence, and they ceased their experiments immediately. I didn't go back to my old town. I had found a new home with Cole. Besides, my family should have known better than to sell me off to a company. I don't blame them, though. They were duped just as I was. I reported Rococo Labs anyway. I just couldn't let them get away with it. They were shut down, but the government kept it hush-hush. Cole and I eventually started dating, and as a new billionaire, I became the alpha in that school filled with boys. Even Cole was under my thumb. I mean, I'm his girlfriend after all. The most satisfying thing was seeing Codsworth and his posse cower in fear whenever I'd pass them in the halls. Nowadays, I don't have to go to the 3rd floor to get a bathroom. My contributions to the school and my growing influence made sure I could go to our principal's nice plush office and touch up my makeup there.
A movie and dinner tonight. Pour a couple drinks and yeah, we're feeling fine. And when the morning comes, I'll be right here to bring you breakfast in bed with a kiss on your forehead. I love you all night, fall asleep on my chest. Me and you till the end, my teammate forever, yeah. We'll travel the world, print